This is the Scarlet Vault. Stored away here in the rust-red rooms are items too powerful, too dangerous to exist. You may consider me the custodian and protector of this abominable museum of terrors. Every item stored here is drenched in horror. Every item a weapon in the wrong hands, and every item has a story. Perhaps you would like to hear one?
Good evening. How nice of you to join me. We've just recovered this item. You may take a look, but please don't come too near. This statuette is a carving of an ancient sea god. I couldn't tell you what stone it's made of. Maybe this strange green substance isn't stone at all. It is quite unnatural. Beautifully ugly, though, isn't it? A relic of a civilization that existed before man. Such items are often dangerous, and not always in a supernatural sense. The fog rolled across the North Sea like a shroud pulled over a corpse. The unregistered freighter Torbas cut through the murky waves, destination Stavanger, Norway. Below decks, the heavy thump of the engines vibrated through rusted steel corridors. Swaying lanterns cast trembling shadows across the bulkheads, and every creak felt like someone, or something, lurking just beyond sight. On the bridge, Professor Sebastian Gerard took a sip of steaming coffee from his flask, screwed the lid back on and tried once again to make small talk with the captain, if only to break the silence. "Pretty cold out here, isn't it, Captain? Still, I guess you're used to these conditions, being such an experienced sailor. I'm certainly not." Truth be told, he was somewhat afraid of these rough characters he had become mixed up with. He was keen always to stay on their good sides, never to rock the boat. Captain Drake, a taciturn old sea dog, grunted and turned his attention back to the manifest.
"We'll have you at port in a few hours, Professor, don't you worry. Care to tell us exactly what's in this cargo of yours?"
"I told you, marine archaeological finds, destined for the University of Oslo. They're going to be studied there, in great detail, I hope."
"You had to accompany these finds, then?"
"I wanted to be sure they were safe, yeah."
"Worth a bit, then, are they?"
"Oh, invaluable, if they turn out to be what I think they are." Gerard did not notice the look that passed between Drake and his first officer, a tough young Cockney girl called Flora. The captain coughed dramatically, then looked back at the professor.
"Why don't you go down to the cabin and get some rest?"
Professor Gerard gave it some thought. "But I really don't want to leave this cargo unattended." Flora laughed. "We're in the middle of the ocean, Professor. It's quite safe with us." Gerard felt pressured to nod in agreement. But are you safe with it? He thought grimly to himself. "I thought he'd never take the bloody hint," the first officer exploded when Gerard finally called it a night and exited the bridge for a quick nap down below.
"He's a weird one,"
the captain remarked.
"Bloody Yanks. Right, shall we go and have a look at our cargo, then?"
He stood up, rubbing his hands together gleefully. "Do you reckon it's gold, Captain?"
"Gold or drugs, it doesn't matter to me. But it has to be something dodgy, or he wouldn't be employing a crew like us to ship it."
They left the ship in the capable hands of the second officer and descended into the bowels of the vessel. They came to a halt, and Captain Drake unlocked the heavy metal hatch to hold 3 and heaved it open. An overpowering stench of rot and salt greeted them, but they were used to such smells. The 2 sailors ducked inside, boots echoing on damp metal. 10 carefully packaged cargo crates held untold wealth within. Flora eagerly picked up a crowbar and started to attack the nearest container, ironic as it was clearly marked with the words, "Handle with care." She tore the wooden lid of the crate away and tossed it aside. After rummaging through layers and layers of packaging, she produced one large heavy parcel, onto which "Handle with gloves at all times" had been written in felt tip. "What do you reckon this is then, Captain?"
How should I know? Open it, girl.
"But I'm not wearing gloves, Captain."
Better be careful with it then.
The plastic wrap was ripped away until a dirty green statuette was revealed. "What do you think it's made of?" The first officer frowned. "Jade or something?" The captain sniffed.
No, girl, that's not jade. Don't know what that's been carved from. But look at the state of it, must be thousands of years old.
The captain tried to snatch the statuette so he could examine it more closely, but Flora denied it him.
Funny looking thing,
he muttered, taking in the detail. "What's it supposed to be then? An octopus?" Flora was greatly intrigued.
An octopus with a girl's body, like a mermaid, maybe.
"Valuable, you reckon?" Captain Drake eyed it closely in one last examination. It was the most ugly thing he had ever seen.
Only to boffins, and that's no good to us because we can't sell it on.
He sighed deeply. Perhaps this had been a waste of time.
Open a couple more just to make sure he hasn't hidden something decent in one of the boxes, he ordered. If you only find more crap like this, wrap everything back up again and seal it up as it was before. It isn't worth stealing this.
Right you are, Captain. Drake was back at the helm on the bridge when Professor Gerard entered, rubbing his tired eyes.
Thought you were going to sleep the rest of the journey,
the captain growled. I tried, believe me, but sleep mostly evades me these days. Gerard looked for his flask of coffee, only to find someone on the bridge had drunk it all. He didn't feel confident enough to complain. The first officer barreled onto the bridge, her eyes immediately drawn to the professor. I thought you were sleeping. Like I told the captain, I couldn't drop off, Gerard answered. I'm a little worried about my cargo, if I'm honest. No one said anything for a while. The first officer made her way to the first aid cabinet and rooted through the meagre supplies for a bandage. Are you okay? The professor asked her. Just a blister, that's all, Flora said, covering a calloused finger. It's nothing. Gerard looked and saw that her finger was turning a deep shade of red. Let me look at that, he said, suddenly afraid. I said it's nothing. Gerard fought against the rising fear inside him and bit his tongue. He nervously adjusted his hearing aids, an unconscious tic that often happened when he was feeling threatened. He thought about not saying anything, not pushing it further, but couldn't help himself. How did you get that blister? He found himself asking. Tell me how you got that blister. All eyes were on him.
Nothing to do with you, is it, son?
The captain said finally. Gerard chose his next words carefully. It's just that I've seen an injury like that before. The reddening of the flesh around a fresh wound. One of my colleagues... Do you have a headache by any chance? Flora could hardly deny that. She had a couple of paracetamol in the palm of her good hand, ready to swallow. Have you touched one of the items in the cargo? Gerard erupted. This is really, really important. The captain intervened.
You made it very clear we weren't to go near that precious cargo of yours. Are you making an accusation, son?
Of course not. Gerard's immediate instinct was to back down, to de-escalate. But this was important, damn it. He swung to look at the first officer. I just... If you were to have touched a particular item down in the hold, something that should only be handled with gloves, that would surely explain the symptoms. That's all. Symptoms? What symptoms? I'm perfectly all right. It was then that her nose began to bleed. Captain, you have to confine her to quarters. Right now! Flora's adrenal glands began to pump out adrenaline and cortisol, elevating her heart rate and blood pressure.
I give the orders on this ship, son.
Flora's blood flow shifted away from the non-essential systems like digestion and punched its way into her muscles. I've seen what happens next. The police still think I'm responsible for it. She's gonna go crazy, become a danger to herself and others. I know it. I'm sorry, I really am. But if you'd just listen to me and not touch the artifacts... Flora started to sweat uncontrollably, her blood vessels expanding and constricting as hormones washed around her body, priming her for action.
I think you need to explain yourself, Professor.
An ancient civilization, the true masters of the land and sea, a people so unknowable, so different, even the remnants of their culture is utterly hostile to human life. I'm taking these items to Norway to prove they existed. That they had a technology greater than our own, bordering on magic. But you didn't listen to me, did you? You had to look inside the boxes. Well, now you're gonna pay. We're all gonna pay, do you hear me? A mutation occurred inside Flora. A red mist descended, a boiling rage about to explode. We are all going to die! What soon followed was bloody murder after murder, as the thing that infected Flora compelled her to commit the most horrendous atrocities. Screams echoed through the ship as the crew were cut down, one by one, with unspeakable violence. Gerard found himself stumbling down the dim corridor of the cargo ship, his breath shallow and frantic. Red emergency lights pulsed through the foggy hall, painting everything in blood. Somewhere behind, metal creaked, something shuffling along in pursuit. It was looking for him. He pressed his back to a bulkhead, trying not to sob. The thing used to be Flora, the cheeky Cockney girl. Now she was something else entirely, jaw slack, eyes milky. The infection had spread quickly, turning the former first officer into a rabid killer. Gerard had locked himself in the engine room for 3 hours before running out of water and courage. Now he crept like prey. He had to get off the ship, had to escape with his life. The ship rocked violently, throwing the professor against the wall. Somewhere nearby a pipe burst, steam hissed, scalding. It sounded like a scream in his amplified hearing. He flinched and ripped off his hearing aids to allow himself a moment to recover. When he put them back in his ears, only one was working, and only partially. He yelped, cursing that his hearing could fail him now. So he was unable to hear the footsteps. Wet, heavy. Passing the broken, blooded bodies of the captain and second officer as they drew closer and closer. But Gerard caught a glimpse of his pursuer and darted into the mess hall, overturned chairs and broken trays littering the floor. He crouched behind a rusted fridge, shivering, hearing nothing but the roar of silence. A groan, low and guttural, echoed through the room. Not that he heard. Yet he sensed the imminent danger. He felt ice in his spine and looked around for something to use as a weapon, and found nothing of use. Suddenly the fridge shuddered. The thing was on the other side, a snarl, and he heard it this time. Then the muffled sound of a clawed hand dragging across metal. He bolted. He raced through the galley. Behind him, the monster that was once Flora roared, its voice a sick mockery of human agony. He reached the ladder to the upper deck and climbed, 2 rungs at a time. Rain lashed him as he burst into the open air. The North Sea was merciless, waves crashing over the bow, black as ink. Lightning forked above, revealing the creature crawling from below, pale-faced and grinning. Gerard ran towards the lifeboats. There was only one on board the ship, swinging wildly in its harness. He fumbled with the latch, fingers numb. The monster charged, shrieking. The latch snapped. He dived into the lifeboat as it dropped, the rope screeching in protest, and the dinghy hit the water like a hammer. Pain erupted in Gerard's ribs. He gasped for air. Above, the thing that was once Flora howled. But it didn't jump. It watched. Gerard drifted into the storm, soaked and shivering, alone but alive. He watched his sinister observer on the Torbas, as the vessels drifted apart. Its purpose served. The thing that was once Flora crumpled in on itself, and finally and mercifully died. The apes on board the ship had been suitably punished for their transgression of touching the idol, and the lesson of the ancient sea gods was over. Gerard let out a deep breath and felt vulnerable and insignificant at how weak and powerless humanity were before their long-dead masters, and before the mighty currents of their seas. The crew of the Torbas were eventually found washed up on the shores surrounding the city of Bergen, though Professor Sebastian Gerard was rescued by the Norwegian Coast Guard. Whilst divers have visited the shipwreck several times, they have yet to recover Gerard's precious cargo. The reason for that is simple. The Scarlet Vault got there first. Professor Gerard's claims about what happened and about the ancient rulers of Earth have been widely dismissed, and he has since become a figure of ridicule in the scientific community. I feel rather sorry for him, actually. Still, there are some parts of history that are best kept mysterious. Wouldn't you agree?